Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday evening. It is 9 o'clock. Time for a live stream. But first, as always, a little music. Enjoy. Good evening, Parker.
We are all the heirs to Scotland, as a nation proud we stand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. To the world we bid a welcome in 1,000 different ways. We will toast to long lost friendships as we build our better days. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. We are all the heroes of Scotland. We're a nation hand in hand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum.
Good evening, folks. I hope you're. Oh, there's James. Good evening, James. Long time no see. I do hope you're doing fine, James. James, by the way, is one of the very first people to become a regular on the channel when I started. He was an enormous help to me. Kept me right of all the things I should do and all the things that I shouldn't do. Amazing. Then, of course, there came that time when he decided to leave the nest, so to speak. I know he's been around, of course, But it's nice to see you, James. I know it's quite a while since you were here last. Celius, good evening to you, sir. Roy, good evening. Gavin, good evening. Budgie, of course, good evening. And Packer. I hope your family's well, Packer, and that lovely cat of yours. Yeah, new job working back in the engineering. I'm good. No money. It's in these days, but it's so satisfying. That's good. I know you were not happy. It's a long time since we have spoken, of course. But when we used to have regular communications, I know you weren't happy where you were. So it's good to hear that you've got a more satisfying position. Good evening, Treble M. Apologies from me because when I went tonight, I discovered that I hadn't set it up. I thought I had set it up over the weekend, but obviously not. So apologies for that. That's good to hear, Packer. Everything's well with you. Uh, Stricky, good evening, sir. Pancake Tuesday. Special Key, good evening to you. Wow, well, that's well done, you, James. Well done, you. You'll notice that I don't smoke anymore. I had to give it up. I don't know if you've heard, but I assume you've probably heard about my ill health. I I gave up the smoking, so there you go. Well, that's good for you. Well done, you, James. Keep up the good work. Not easy, I'm sure. And there we go. So apologies for that. I set it up. So next time I'm on will be Friday, and I've set it up. So there you go. Uh, Obviously, getting the news from the hospital that I don't have to go back. James, I'm still on the cigs. They're the next to kick. Well, none of these things are easy to give up. Uh, my situation is completely different, James. You know, it was brought on by serious illness, and I found it not difficult at all. But I say that because I know it's to do, or I had to do, with my illness. And I would never belittle anyone who was trying to give it up and found it difficult, because I'm sure it is difficult. I still get notions for it. I'll answer you, Parker, first. It's easier to answer. I haven't heard from Eki. I've written him an email and I'm still waiting. I don't know what's happened. No idea what's keeping him. It's not like him. Now, Rory is asking me, are you giving up anything for Lent this year? It starts tomorrow, by the way. Yep, Starts tomorrow. Now, that's something I've never done. I have never tried to do that. So it's not, if you like, it's not part of my yearly ritual or anything, or part of my religion. Although it is part of my religion that I was born into. But I've never done it. I've never given anything up for Lent. I haven't even really ever thought about giving up something for Lent. I think it might be a better idea, rather than giving something up, is to take something up, to do something for Lent, rather than not do something for Lent, if you see what I mean. People will give up. I'm not going to take. My uncle, Mick, used to give up drinking for Lent. Uh, People give up cigarettes for Lent and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to take this, I'm not going to take that. I wonder how successful it would be if you turned it around and said, I'm going to take up doing something for Lent. Just a thought. James is saying, yeah, word got round our circles, you were unwell. We were all worried. Thank you, James. Glad you're still airing your views. Well, yeah, I'm still doing that. I'm still running the party, still trying to get members, still trying to develop it. Not easy, of course. People are people are not the same as they once were back. Let's say. I was going to say people have not been the same since the Second World War, but it's not really quite true because we have had political parties started in this country I'm talking about, and been very successful. So I'm not quite sure why people are reluctant. I think perhaps people are so disgusted and disappointed in our political system that they don't see any point in doing it. Oh, streaky vein. Good idea, John. I may start that cocaine arm. I've always promised myself for life. Very good, Streaky. That's funny. That really is. Rebo, hello there. Tell you, what a sense of humour. Not quite what I had in mind, but why not? Uh, oh, I don't know if does any of you good people follow or watch even occasionally George Galloway at his show. Either that or basket weaving. I quite frequently watch George Galloway's show. A lifetime ago, I actually met him. He was a guest speaker at one of our black tie do's in Glasgow in the days when you were allowed to smoke in restaurants and public places. Mixed opinion here. I both hate and love George, says Repo. But as I say, I met him all those years ago in one of the black tie days. That was in the days when he smoked cigars and drank malt whiskey. He does neither these days, and I think that's because he married a Muslim lady. No, he talks well, that's for sure. Would you? A certain Mr. T. Robinson could get you a good deal. Yeah, I'll take your word for that. Yeah, well, this is what I was coming on to talk about, Trevor. He's standing down at Rochdale on a by-election. I think he's got every chance of winning. I really do. Because the main opponent was Labour. Well, we know what Labour's like now. And it's Rochdale apparently is one of the biggest Muslim populations in the country. So their Labour guy has been dumped, apparently. And I think George Galloway is going to win it. Good evening, Robert. Well, he's married to one. Streaky, that's what I'm telling you. He has children. I think he's got four children to his second wife. Oh, his debate with Hitchens is a classic. Yeah, I also watched him when he was one of these committees in the USA Senate, committee. So what I'm trying to get to, the point I'm trying to make, Thomas Boyd, George Galloway win it, Rochdale, hello, John, awesome work. Yeah. If he wins this by-election, I think he's going to provide a lot of confidence for other independents and other members of small parties, such as my own. And now, because I've had this reprieve on my health. If he wins Rochdale, I'm going to start seriously considering standing up here when that general election comes. It'll depend on various factors, of course. No, I won't win. He's said too many bad things, William, to win it. Yes, he is one of the Muslims, but he's opened his big mouth and said stupid things against Muslims, although he is one. Well, I can't say I like him if we're talking as an individual, as a person. I can't say I like him or dislike him. I'm not claiming to know him. All I'm claiming is I met him once. He's a very changed man from what he was back then. As I say, back then he smoked cigars and drank malt whiskey. He does neither, as far as I know. Well, there's the Earl. The Earl of Stair. Good evening, sir. Nice to see you. I hope I'm right as well, Streaky. He's been fighting the Palestinian cause for as long as I've known about him. I've never heard him speak on that treble M. I'd like to hear him speak on that. I don't know why his position should be the same as my own or yours. It should be. Shouldn't be anything else. Yeah, he is old. He is an old Labour guy. George Galloway, when British MP, helps mixed economy in England, London, Britain, Austria, Vienna. Got it mixed economy. Way better than Scotland, thanks. He is an old Labour type. He calls himself a socialist, but I know what he means. He means more the kind of socialism that I grew up with. Well, he does a lot more than that, William. But you're correct. He does speak out against the Jews. Oh, he doesn't speak that. That's for sure. He's not a communist. He's a socialist in the same way that I was, and still am to some extent. You got to remember that this term has been, in my view, has been hijacked and has been infiltrated by those who are more communistic than I could ever be and would want to be. Well, actually, William, if you're not aware, he started a political party years ago. It's called the British Workers' Party. So he's standing as leader of that party. An independent, I suppose, same way that I would be considered an independent starting if I was standing as a leader of the People's Party. Um, so, but I think if he wins, is what I'm saying is if he wins, and I think he will, he's got every chance of winning this. If he wins it, he will bring a lot of confidence. He will inspire a lot of people to try themselves. Very good, Streaky. Does he still think he's a cat? Yeah, well, all that for money, eh? What people will do for money. It will be interesting, William. It will be interesting. I mean, he won't win it just on the Muslim vote. He needs to get more than that, although there are tons of them there, apparently. I don't know what their flag is, Roger. I have no idea. I expect they'll be flying that because of the Palestine situation, but I wouldn't know. But he started that party a good number of years ago. Oh no, he's not our guy, that's for sure. No, no, I wasn't. I would never claim that he's one of our guys. Not at all. Only insofar as he has got working class roots. Beyond that, I don't know. But I don't think so. I don't think he's got any time for our positions. And I do hope you have all heard good news about Dr. Waters, I think his name is, university lecturer who lost his job, was fired a couple of years back by the university that he worked um, for saying that it was a bad thing, it was an evil thing to be a Zionist, that Zionism was an evil uh, philosophy and mindset. And he used to teach this as part of his courses. Well, they fired him for it. But of course, the good doctor didn't leave it at that, did he? No. He fought against it and he won. And why I'm bringing it up is because the win is very, very important to all of us, to everyone in the country, because it means uh, sorry, I was reading the comments there. It means that you cannot be prosecuted or visited by the police for saying anything against Zionism or Jews in this country. This is what this man has won for himself and us. Now Brilliant. Now, it can be challenged, this court ruling. Of course it can. But it brings this whole subject to the fore in a way that, yeah, that's it. Would you? You've got it right. It sets a standard. Now, it's great that the man has won it for all sorts of reasons, of course. I don't know anything about Zionism, says Arfo. All I care about is getting the N and P out of our country. I understand that. I do. I do understand that. But in terms of discussion, in terms of freedom of thought and freedom of expression, you can't really talk about the situation, for example, in the Middle East without bringing this subject up. And there are so many non Jewish people connected and involved in Zionism who support it. But now, because this man has won this case, for the moment at least, we are free to talk about it. That's what I say, Streaky. Good for the guy. Good for that man. Good for that Dr. Waters, I think it is. And this is part of the problem, I would say, to Arpo. In the USA, so many Christian groups, and I'm sure there are lots of Christian groups in America, and they support all this because they're basically, to be blunt about it, is they're ignorant educationally. They don't know what they're supporting. They think that if they support Zionism and the Jews controlling what that part of the Middle East, which was always Palestine, they think that that's going to bring Jesus back for the end times, bring him back quicker. This is what they think, and this is why they support it. And they send a lot of cash. Now, I don't believe any of that. Jesus will come back when he's good and ready, not before. So it's important for us to be able to speak about it freely without the fear of or threat of getting yourself into trouble with the law and be sent to prison over it. Well, it's all of these things, guys. I mean, you're right. You're right, of course. Oh, there's Toffee. Good evening, Toffee. I'm just explaining to the people here, if you don't know yourself, uh, an Englishman by the name of Dr. Waters, a lecturer, uni lecturer, has won his case against the university for wrong. They dismissed him, so he took him to court, challenged that he was being uh, shouldn't have lost his job over his teaching of Zionism, and he has won this case, which means you cannot be prosecuted for lambasting Zionism. Obviously, you still have to mind your P's and Q's to some extent. But you can criticize them harshly. And they need the harshest of criticisms. As I've been listening to Scott Ritter, and I know a lot of you have been listening to him, we have to put an end to Jewish supremacy. It's been going on far too long. Of course, it's nonsense. I mean, it just defeats the whole idea of God, as I've said before on this subject. It was one of the things that I found very difficult when I was in my youth, when I was going through that examination of, do I believe in God, do I not, and all the things that come with Christianity that never made sense to me. And that was one of the things that never made sense to me. That God created humanity in his image, supposedly, but they were special. Somehow they were special, these Jewish people. And that never made any sense to me. So we're not all the same, says I to myself, because that's the conclusion that you have to reach if you accept this. And I never reached a satisfactory answer to that. Toffee. Well, I put on a wee bit of weight, Toffee. Maybe that's what it is, you see. I was weighed the other week there when the dietitian was in the house. Well, they can't actually. Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. They can't do that anymore because this man's win his case. So you can't be prosecuted. Well, okay, you might well be right. I'm thinking in terms of legality, right? But you're right. YouTube's a different entity. They don't need anything written in the law. They can make their own laws, as you quite rightly say. So thanks for that. You need to remind me. Back to toffee. I'm up to close to 11.5 stone, right? I don't want to be any heavier than that. So that's probably what you see. I had lost weight last year. I lost weight. I was down to 9.5 stone because when I was in hospital, I was getting weighed almost every day. But now I'm up in weight. It's because I get a little bit more money when you've got cancer you get a bit more money in your social security payments. Although I'm on a pension, I qualify for a bit extra money because I've got cancer. And, and as I said to the doctors, if I get this money, because it was them that applied for it for me, I didn't do this, they did it. Uh, uh, what I said I would do with the extra cash is I'd buy better quality food, and that's what I've done. So I treat myself to things that I really enjoy, like I have fillet steak once a week. That's where I spend this extra money that I get on food to get great ice cream from the Italian shop, just not too far from my house. What's this you're saying? Get ready for a sparring session with me when you reach 12 stone, big man. I'm not going that far to toffee, I tell you. I don't want to be that way. I'd feel really bloated if I were that way. Rory's saying, did you see the video of the Scotsman attacking Sunak regarding his vaccine injuries? 35 minutes, but well worth listening. No, I've not heard of this one, Rory. This is a new one. I need to look out for it. Oh, I bet he was doing plenty of that. Streaky. Philip steak. When does Philip say about that? Not a lot. Yeah, this is a new one for me. I don't know this at all. So and I've got the dietitian. I asked the dietitian to prescribe for me ensure drinks. You can only get them through the National Health. And if you've got cancer, you can get these drinks, and they are high energy drinks for a start, and plenty of calories. So that'll be helping to put my weight up. Streaky, I just had some steak from Lidl's, and it was very decent for a good price. Yeah, well, my sister brings it in from Tesco, believe it or not, and it's pretty decent as well, and it's not too bad a price either. My son, when my son's out shopping, he gets it from the butcher. Yeah, Ensure it's called. You can't buy it. It's not a drink you can buy in a shop or anything. You can only get it through the National Health. And I'm confident, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you'll get it for other ailments, but you can definitely get it when you've got cancer. Toffee's saying, seriously, John, get some of those nourishment drinks down you. 455 calories in one tin and 20 odd grams of protein. Yeah, that's the whole purpose, toffee. They're high energy things, you know. Yeah, especially for people who are losing a lot of weight. I asked to see a dietitian when I was in hospital last year, and that was that was me just getting my first visit last week. Oh, so you know about it? Ah, you know about it. Yeah, it is good stuff, and if you like it, it's even better. And I happen to like it, you know, the taste. So yeah, you're right. So yeah, but I don't want to be any heavier than what I am at this moment. Um, but I was concerned because I had gone down to 9.5. And that wasn't because of bad food in the hospital or anything. The hospital food, or in the hospital I was in here locally, um, was pretty decent food. One of the only things I'm knowledgeable about is nutrition, says Toffee, from my boxing days. Oh, of course you'll know about that kind of stuff. Yeah, strawberry oils. See, many of you know about this stuff. Strawberry flavour. Yes, it is especially nice. I've tried years and years and years and years ago. I got it, not directly, but it was a person I knew was getting them, and he didn't like all the flavours, and he would give them to me. One of the flavours that he gave me was chocolate, and I didn't care for that. Strawberry is really nice, yeah. Your friend, my friend gets a crate of Ensure every week. He sells them. Is that wise if he needs them? Is that a wise thing to do? I don't think that's particularly wise, my friend. Yeah, it's up to him, I suppose. I suppose. I don't know if people who are recovering from drug addiction get access to it. No idea. Linda, good evening. Hello, John. You were talking about the same George Galloway who is a shill for the CCP. It puts the lotion on Guy. I don't know about that, Linda, to be honest. Well, they may well do, Rory. In Sergio Haggis and Scottish hospitals, they may well do it Burns supper time, but not while I was there. I don't like haggis anyway. Don't eat it. Travel M, my friend has to have them. She has pancreatitis. She can hardly eat anything, which doesn't give her excruciating pain. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's awful. That's really bad. That's bad. Budgie, snort any pill up the nose. It will blow your mind. Don't do it. Absolutely don't do it. And I'll need to find out what's happened to our friend. He hasn't been around for a long time. I'll need to find out if he's okay or he's just given up on the channel, which is fine if that's all it is. I have told you, of course, Skywalker has quit Ian Marr. Yeah, that's it. Steve, is Steve here tonight? No, I don't think Steve's here either. Need to find out what's going on there. Anyway, why is he running for Parliament? To shake them up a bit, Linda. Yes, please do, Packer. Please do check on him. Waffle House voice chat. Oh, so he's simply somewhere else then. Oh, all right. I'm caressing him up. He's obviously he's free to go wherever he wishes. He's just missed, that's all. That's what happens when you've got such a small channel as mine. It's easy to miss people. Steve. Yeah, we know who our friends are. Yeah, well, he's got a lot of pressure on him, Linda. I know that. He has a lot of pressure on him. And he seems to be someone who's quite isolated. And that's part of the problem with too many of us, our folk. I don't include myself in this, by the way. I don't. But too many of our people are isolated, are living isolated lives. which is not good for anyone. Not good for your mental health, which of course has a direct bearing on your physical health. And too many of us live that way. Oh, there he is. Just talking about you, Steve. No alert. Well, partly my fault, Steve. I thought I had set up this live stream over the weekend, but I hadn't. I only set it up tonight, so that'll be part of the reason. So I take some of that responsibility. Streaky's agreeing with me. Yeah, I mean, I can tell. Believe it or not, I can tell across the internet here. It's a strange kind of thing. No, I don't need to apologise, Steve. So long as you're all right, that's the most important thing. But there is a sense in which some, more than others, I can sense are isolated socially. I mean, whereas it's not as though I'd never want you to think that I demand that you should be here when I'm here, right? I don't want ever to think that because that's not how it is. But what happens, of course, is when you do this regularly, as I have been for the last few years, apart from last year when I took ill, you get used to the people who come regularly. You get used to seeing their names, listening to their or reading their comments. And so when they're not there, you miss it. You know, where the hell is whoever it is? Budgie, some of us are just watching the world and its handbasket going to hell with a giant bag of popcorn. I like that image. So, and it's part of my own personality that does it as well. I can't help myself but feel connected. And if you're not there, I begin to fret over it. Why are they not here? Are they all right? Are they okay? Is something wrong? Good evening, Edmund. Oh, there he is there. Good evening, Edmund, on 184. Ludwig, good evening. And so, like I was saying, Treble M, I definitely feel connected to the people on the stream. Yeah, this is what happens. I I was surprised when it happened to me very early on. I began to feel connected to the regular people that came here, like James, who seems to who is either not saying anything or he's left us. and treble M, you know. And that's what happens. It's I find it quite a mysterious thing. I do. I find it really mysterious. Oh, he's there. James is still with us. There you go, you see. I used to worry terribly about James when he disappeared. Terribly. I thought there was something wrong. But there was nothing wrong. But that's the way I am. And it's happened with others. You know that. And that's what it means when we talk about community. If I didn't feel that way about any of you, then there would be no sense of community. I'd just be here talking and you would be here listening. But it's more than that. I know it's more than that. It is for me, and for most of you, it's more than that. And it isn't just a place to go on a Tuesday night or Thursday or a Friday when I did the 3 nights. It's not. It's a lot more than that. It's a sense of connection, deep connection, spiritual connection, I would call it. Oh, there's picking gas. I haven't seen him around for a wee while either. So, I like that. James revealed himself, ba-bam, as a lurker. Lurkers are okay. Yeah, well, that's what I used to do when I first discovered YouTube. I was a lurker. I didn't want to. I didn't want to give over the information that you need to give over. So I used to lurk. Well, that's a nice way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it, Rory. We are a family, he's saying. Of course, we miss relatives when we don't see them for a while. And that's true. That's a good way to put it. So, what's your bedtime? Picking gas. I don't know where this word came from. It certainly wasn't about when I was lurking. Lurking is the word I'm talking about. So, getting back to this by-election. Yeah, third one in, son. I'm going to watch it carefully. And I'm going to watch the aftermath of it. If Galloway gets in, if he wins it, I'm going to keep a close eye on the aftermath, and we'll find out how the rippling effect goes. Because that will be the important part of it for the rest of us. What happens afterwards? Now I know what's going to happen when if he gets in, when he goes there to the house to make his, I don't know if it will be called a maiden speech because he's been there before, but it probably will be called still a maiden speech. It'll be empty. I don't see it. I don't see them lining up to make it an occasion. I think they'll all be under orders to stay away. Steve is saying, I first heard the term on Dangerfield's stream. Oh, I think he's got a very good chance of winning, Edmund. I do. I do. Just if you strip everything else away, you strip any politics that you know of, strip that all away, and you just look at I can't say what's happening in Gaza. We know what's happening in Gaza, right? It's a genocide. We know it's a genocide. Now, if the general public have even a whiff of what's happening, all these Waynes, all these children being killed, how can the general public vote for anyone who supports that? And Labour supports it. Labour supports it, and so does the Tories. So he'll be there saying it has to finish, it has to stop, there has to be the land and nation of Palestine. Has to be. It was there. There was no such a place as Israel. It was Palestine. I remember, I'm old enough to know this. I'm old enough to be able to tell you that it was a place where the three different religions lived together in relative peace. There was an influx of Zionists from Europe. It started this mess up. They're all grubby, rubbish people, says Triple M. Warmongers. Well, that's absolutely correct. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying for people who don't pay any real attention to politics, right? How can you, if you were going to vote, and then a lot of people may decide not to vote, which is a bad idea. If they're not going to vote for a candidate, then what they should do is spoil their vote. Not just don't go. But for people like that who claim not to know too much about politics, how can you vote for anything else but for someone who's saying this has to cease, this has to stop, there has to be a state of Palestine for the Palestinian people? And that whole area was Palestine, the whole area. And Britain gave it away as if we were God, we had a right to give this land away. I don't have to tell any of you that history. Most of you, or all of you, will know that history. None of the above. That's it, guys. Exactly. Just get into the booth and write that. None of the above. Job done. budget. Hang on. There was a time when there weren't any Arabs there either. They are not meant to be Muslim. Same with Iran. Yeah, spoil the ballot. That's the answer. If you can't support anyone on the ballot paper, then spoil the ballot paper. Gavin's adding, we had zero Muslim terrorism until the Scoobies started killing the Palestinians, and global eyes turned blind. I know. Well, Steve, did anyone see the Tucker interview? If you've been following world events, you'll find that there's nothing in the interview that's going to be setting you alight. This is a new name for this channel, ultra nationalist. I don't think we can vote our way out of this mess. We need to look at the history of Ireland for ideas to save Scotland. Well, that's really not what I'm talking about, Ultra. I'm talking about the possibility of Galloway winning this by-election and bringing hope to other independents and small party members, which will create, if that could happen, if it was enough independents, let's call them, in Parliament, it could create something of a pressure group, which would be better than what we have got at the present. It's not the answer either, of course. If we've looked to Ireland for answers, then I'm not keen on violence as an answer. I don't think violence is an answer. The trouble with violence is it's easy to get started, but my God, it's awful difficult to get it to stop. That's my problem with it, with violence in general. I couldn't tell you, Linda, if he's had a strike or not. Yeah, I thought it was a very good interview, but when Putin was talking about the history of the country, that was obviously for an American audience, or I suppose to some extent a European audience. If you've never been to the USA for any length of time, you maybe not appreciate just how uneducated they are. By and large, I'm talking about in general, they're pretty well uneducated. I've often remarked that people in this country, the UK, know more about the USA than they do about their own country. The trouble with the people of the USA is their country is so vast. You don't really appreciate that until you go there, how vast it really is. They don't really need to know about any other country. And I think there's a lot of truth in that, Linda. People who need to hear it will not listen. He's a highly intelligent and educated man. There's no doubt about that. Again, Budgie, I don't know if that's true or not. Tucker wears a Kabbalah bracelet. He's another Zionist plant. Perhaps he is. I don't know. Well, I would argue with you. We need a party that cares about white people. I would argue that would be my party, the People's Party. It's my first priority, is our people, our needs. And look at Ireland now. Yeah, you're right, Tremelin. Look at Ireland now. What a shambles that place is now. Didn't take very long either. That's the other alarming thing about it. It didn't take long for Ireland to fall as far as it's fallen. Rory, when I was there, I think I've told you all this before, but it's worth repeating because let me cut this real short to begin with. One of the first things I had to do when I went to the USA in 1993, I had to buy myself a hat because I was getting sunstroke and it was killing me. Well, not killing me, it's an exaggeration. Making me feel really bad every day. So I had a hat and I bought a lovely Western hat, a cowboy hat, in other words, black, beautiful thing. Cost me a lot of money, but I bought it because I thought I'll never be back here again. Anyway, I bought this hat. I'm wearing a waistcoat, as always. And everywhere I went, people thought I was that guy from Australia, fella in the movies. And when I said, no, I'm not him, and I told them that I was from Scotland, some of the answers I got were quite ridiculous. Not that I made fun of them, but I was shocked to how many Americans said to me, yeah, that's that place, that's that island above England. That's how little they know about European geography. Agreed. We need someone high up to say, look at look at what the N's and P's are doing to our lands. Yeah, there's another new name here. McGee. McGee. What about all the Russian Jews during the 70s and 80s? Well, they still have quite a lot of them in Russia, I believe. A lot of them left. I think that's the way most people see it, Ludwig. It's what you're saying. A saying well humoured, stately leader, educated, knows his stuff, didn't refer to notes every 5 minutes. And from my point of view, spoke straight, gave out as much information as he needed to, and showed all of the Western leaders up for what they are. They seem to be, Budgie. They seem to be awake to what's going on. Red pilled, a fair bit of resistance. Yeah. Well, again, Ireland's a place that you would notice a change. Very quickly, you would notice a change. Yeah, that's who I was thinking on. Thank you, Linda. Paul Hogan. So many Americans thought I was Paul Hogan simply because they didn't recognize the accent. The fact that I was wearing a Western hat, wearing a waistcoat, and smoking cigarettes, as I was then. The only thing it was missing is I wasn't carrying a big dagger. Now that's what I call a knife. No, they hadn't a clue. And it really surprised me is even when you told them, even when I told them where I was from, they were not sure where Scotland was located. But as I say, that's down to the sheer size of their country. I mean, after all, it's not just a country they live in; it's a continent that happens to be a country. Crocodile Davidson. That was a bit the size of it. I thought it was funny myself. After a while, it became a bit wearisome, mind you. But to begin with, it was funny. But that's when you realise what you're up against. They just don't know very much. But they don't need to because it's such a vast place. Is that in London? No, no, Robert. I was when I was in America. I was only a short time in Mexico. It was the most, so far, it's one of the scariest places I've ever been. Well, thanks, Robert, for that. It's just a new name to me. That's all. Um, Scariest place I think was when I was in Turkey. When I went there, yeah, I seem to get somewhat confused between Scottish accent and Australian accent, perhaps English as well. I agree with you, Trevor. I agree with you 100%. Ireland should never have gone near the EU, but there again, neither should we. I've told you my story on this as well. We were lied to. I believed the lie. I thought it would be a good idea. It would be good for business. And I don't mean big business. I thought it'd be good for all business. So I agreed with it. But of course, I wasn't aware of the lies that was being told to me at the time. Yeah, he's a bad guy. Streaky. Boris, he's a bad guy. He's a badger. They all are in their own way. Don't believe lies from his interview. God, he's a liar himself. Ultra nationalist is saying Ireland is the tinderbox. I think they will be first to reverse the plantation of the third world in their country. I pray Scotland follows. I'll tell you one thing. I wish we were in front. I wish we would do it first. That's why I'm laughing. I wish we would do it first. You may well be right because they've had that revolution. We've not had anything like that, really. Not really. But they have. They'd be less afraid of it than we would be. And a lot of their folk uh, already know how to get hold of the means of defence. I don't know if we've got that capacity to know that. I don't know. You may well be right. It's a small country. It wouldn't take much to do it. Not really. So I really hope you're right, Ultra. Because from my point of view, I mean, I'd like to live long enough to see that. I'd really like to watch how that develops and how they go about it. But I think you could well be right. It really wouldn't take much of a shove to get them out. Special K. When I travelled through the States, I found people were very friendly. Not like Canada. Canadians are kind of assholes, to be honest. Well, I would agree with you. I found the American people, the ordinary American person that I met on my travels, were really great people. Most of them, I must add, were very disillusioned with their own situation. They were A lot of the folk I met, you see, were middle aged or a bit older than middle aged, and they had got to that point in their life where they had lived long enough to have regrets, and most of them regretted the way the USA is set up in terms of medical help and financial help, etc., etc. Um, but yes, you're quite right. They were all very friendly. Um, I haven't changed my view on that at all. It's the political class, of course. It's always the political class that causes the trouble. Paul Hogan, says Linda, was the Winfield cigarette guy. Always had a pack in his pocket during his show before Crocodile Dundee, right? I'll take your word for it. Well, that's who a lot of them thought I was. Well, you've been there, Steve. I dislike Turkey for obvious reasons. Well, I was in Turkey proper. Good evening, Anglo. I was out in the wilderness, far from the maddening crowd. Uh, and as I always tell people, because this is how I feel about it, it's the first time I actually felt as though I had travelled. I felt as though I was in a foreign land. Now, that might sound a bit strange because I'd been going to Spain for a number of years on holiday with Laura and Lorraine. But when I went to Turkey, this faraway place, because I'm not on this 30-mile stretch that they've made. I'm in the hinterland. I've gone back in time at least 150 years, and I'm in a foreign land, and they're carrying guns. So it was a real nervous trip. I can't explain the reasons why I was there. Too complicated and too private. but I can tell you things that are important to know. And it's important for you to know that any time I came across a Christian church, not that there were many, because there weren't, but any time I came across one, the gates were closed and there was a big heavy chain round it with a big thick heavy padlock, because it was closed down, because the Christians had been exiled from the land. They don't allow it. I want you to think about that. They don't allow it. And the other thing that I couldn't help but notice was how I was treated. Not because I was a foreigner, but because I was a man. To say I was treated like a king would be true, because I was. Everywhere I went. Partly because I was a foreigner, I was a European, and partly because I was a man. Again, this was all very strange and new. I'd never been treated like this, never have been since. It's only one time in my life was when I was there. People opening doors for me, people giving up seats for me, offering things, drinks and food and cigarettes and all the rest of it. It was quite an experience from that point of view. He's a knife for a walk. James is saying, an Indian colleague at work showed me that the Indian farmers are protesting. Good. The look on his face when I showed him the European protests. The penny dropped faster with him than our own. That's interesting, James. It's good. It's good that the Indian farmers are also protesting. Thanks for that. I think you're right, Streaky. They are riffraff, these people who are in charge at the moment. They are. That's why we need to get them out as quickly as possible. Well, you see there, Linda's saying farmers everywhere, but not according to the government media. This is the thing. This is the laughable, ridiculous state of things in this country. And I think it's helped the state of mind that these people have got, these would be rulers of the universe, is because we live in an island. They think that we don't know anything. And there was a time that was true. There was a time. But that no longer applies because the internet now exists. All of you have got one of these. Even I was forced into getting one of these damn things, right? A mobile phone. They can't they can't shut us off the way they used to. The news spreads, leaks everywhere, and we find out. Not just in this island, but everywhere. And they can't cope with that. That's why it's all falling apart for them. They talk and think the way it used to be before the internet. But the internet and mobile phones and has changed everything. Because information now really cannot be contained. It leaks and is spread. And with everyone having one of these phones, not I mean, I'm not even going to go into the phone thing, but the fact that everyone has got one of these things, if anything happens in the street next to you, the phones are out and everyone's suddenly becomes a cameraman. And so they can't contain information the way they were able to once. That's the strength that we've got. We can now talk to each other. I mean, Special K there, I know. Special K is from Canada. That's just one person. The other night, last week, it was, it was Kansas, wasn't it? Yeah. That woman was from Kansas. That's just my tiny little channel. But you all know this is the truth. All the channels have got people from all over the place. And we're all listening to each other for the very first time in human history. We can speak beyond our community. It's never happened before. We don't even know yet how powerful it is. This ability that we have for ordinary people to get up and speak beyond their local community or even local family for that matter. A lot more than 3 million, Streaky. You can deport them faster than how they arrived or how they came in the UK. Could save 3 million a year, no problem. It'd be a lot more than that we'd save. Well, again, Bodgy, I would ask you to consider that you're talking about the thing is as it is. But it wasn't always that way, and it won't always stay that way either. Well, likewise, I would say the same thing. There's many things that can be done that are not violent, that would change the whole situation for us all. I have to go in the car shortly. We'll be lurking and singing our song. But keep going, Joan. Okay, Linda. This is the way I see it. Well, as I say, Rory, I wasn't on that 30-mile stretch that they've created on the Mediterranean for European holidaymakers. I was way out in the hinterland. From where I was, from a high position, you could see the tents of the refugee camps. Don't get me wrong, I mean, fascinating, but kind of scary. That's when you realise just how defenceless we are. When you go into a situation that has a potential for real danger. And at that point, when I was there, there were bombs going off everywhere. You know, it was a dangerous place, still is, I believe. Laura in Spain is with Lorraine in Spain is with Laura on the plane. Packer. Very good. Yeah, she's on the mend, Packer, as my Laura. She had a knee operation, of course, there not so long, just before Christmas. So she's getting better, slow but sure. Budgie. The Highland Games need to introduce reptile tossing, crocodile Dunoon. King John the First of Scotland. I noticed you were on 42's stream on Saturday, Rory. I didn't stay around very long. I was getting ready for bed. Well, I like to look in and see what's going on there before I turn the buttons off. Streaky, the Indian farmers are revolting and their wives ain't much ain't much better. I'm Ultra saying I'm going to look into going to farm shops. Hate these supermarkets robbing us with poisonous food. New to me, but we'll try it. Good for you, yeah. I wish I had that choice or that possibility of choice. You know, years ago, back in the late 70s, 1970s, um, it was all the rage for farms up around here in my area to be selling direct to the public. You could buy eggs and potatoes and meat. Now, I don't know if that's still going on because you need a car to get there. I don't have a car and haven't had a car for over 30 years. And then for a while, there were markets coming to the town, and that seems to have stopped as well, or has been made to stop, which might be more accurate to say here. But yes, if you have that opportunity, Ultra, of trying to deal with farmers directly, do it. I would urge you to do it. There used to be a place in Paisley, a shop. Believe it or not, folks, there was a shop in Paisley, not too far from where Helen and I were living at the time. And when you bought eggs from them, they were double yolkers. Every egg was a double yolk egg. That's all you could buy from them if you wanted eggs. Brilliant. Never see that now. This shop had them. Well, that's one way. There are other ways. You can change the food laws. And the way to do that, as I've said before, the way to change the food laws is to change the animal right laws and stop the way that they're being prepared for food. You change those laws. And if the present organizations refuse to enforce it, then you get rid of those organizations and you bring in people who will enforce those laws. Because there are plenty of animal right laws there to protect the cattle and the other animals. But if the organization, and I think the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals is one of them, I believe that they are one of them. If they won't enforce those laws, then you just get rid of them and bring in another lot who will enforce the laws. Change the way those animals are slaughtered. That's one of the things that I would do. It shouldn't even be allowed the way that they are now slaughtered the animals. It's cruel. In my view, it's cruel. I've seen it. Now, if you haven't seen it, don't go looking for it. I urge you, don't go looking for it. It'll only upset you. That's one way. That's one of the first things I would do. Change those laws. And if they're not enforced, get people who will enforce them. And shut down the abattoirs who refuse to do it. That's not a violent way of dealing with things, but it will change the whole view on meat and poultry. As I've said many, many times, there are plenty of ways of changing the rules of the game, if you like, without violence. But you need the control, you need the power to do it. If my party was in control and I was the First Minister in Scotland, these are the kind of things I would be doing. They would already been done. And if the people don't like it, then they can lump it. Because the general public don't even know. They have no idea that this is going on. In fact, my butcher that I use was quite shocked and puzzled. A few years ago, when I moved back to the town, or moved to where I am now in the town, and I went in one day and asked him, directly. I says, where'd you get your meat? Oh, an abattoir in the air. Told me the name of the abattoir. I said, how do they slaughter the animals? Oh, why are you asking that? I said, because I want to know. I want to know how those animals are slaughtered that you're buying and selling in the shop here. Because I don't want to eat the creatures that are slaughtered in that ritualistic way. And I've gone through this before with you all. Why is that? Because the animals who go through that ritualistic slaughter, they are so terrified that it changes the blood of the animal, which changes the taste of the beef, if we're talking about a cow. Now, this is not my opinion. This is scientifically the truth. It can be shown. The blood itself changes because the animal is terrified. It creates a chemical that is in all of us that suddenly rushes to the fore when we're terrified. And in the animals, that's what happens. They are terrified. And this adrenaline, I think it is suddenly pumped out into the bloodstream and into the muscles, etc., etc. And that changes the taste of the beef. And I don't want to eat food like that. He said that they don't do it in the abattoir that he deals with. So for the moment, I take his word for it. But I know that's not the case for the big supermarkets. I know that. Change the law. The law was, when it was created, these laws, that loophole was built into them. There could be exemptions to the rule for religious reasons. But that was in the days when it was a small Jewish community that was in Britain, because they're the same. Their butcher meats and need to be done in a very special way, which is the same as the Muslim way. But that would, back then, that would be a very small number, but not today, because you've got all these Muslims and they demand that their food is done that way. So what has happened is that we get that. We're just not told about it. And it's in schools now as well. Halal, kosher food, as it's called. Change the law and it goes away. Outsourcing energy, food production, and steel, says Anglo. Yeah. And then you've got, as Streaky says up here, benefits. Again, you don't have to go that far. What you need, don't forget, folks. My son works for the government. I know partly what's wrong here, and partly what's wrong is understaffing. Because if these departments were properly staffed, then they would be able to enforce the, oh, I see you're claiming here for a wife and 4 children. Well, you'll need to bring them in to the office so that we can see, or we can arrange a home visit if you prefer, so that we can see that these people exist and they're here in this country. You've no idea how much that would save the country if these checks were able to be done properly. But they're not. I know of too many cases where foreigners are coming into the country, mainly fit young men, claiming for wives and children that they don't have, and they're living in the homeland, wherever the homeland might be, but they're still able to claim that money for a wife and so many children. And then if they add on that one or more of these children is special needs, they get even more money. Now that's going on all the time and has been for years. That just needs a law change to correct that. And that will stop a lot of people from coming here, because then it won't be worth the effort, because they won't get the money that they're now getting. That's going on all the time. Huge sums of money are being fraudulently claimed for. So what I'm saying to you is that you're all right in what you say about these things. Who would argue with you? Because you're true. However, if the right government was in power and allowed proper employment for these departments and a few law changes, most of these people would go away. They would leave, because they are only here for the money. Added to that, if they can't get the food that they demand, then what will they do? They'll leave. I'm not saying it'd be easy, it'd be hard. There'd be uproar in the street. Of course there would. But we've lived through uproar in the street before. We can live through it again. Let's see. Ultra. Grow your own potatoes in just soil. You can buy the seed potatoes from garden centres. £3 for a bag. Great to teach the kids and eat healthy food. Absolutely. Unfortunately, I've got to share what land I've got now behind the house. I don't have control of it all. I tried to talk my neighbour into getting some chickens. He wouldn't have it. Toffee. Grow your own eggs. Plant your own chickens. Woo-hoo. As I said, right people in power, a little bit of imagination, and there's plenty of things that can be done that will immediately change the balance in this country without doing anything violent. Determination, certainly, yes. Well, that's good to hear, Steve. Pleased to hear that. I buy my eggs and spuds from my local farm. I'm going to buy half a pig as soon as I can afford to. Have a chat to neighbours and see if you can get someone to come in with you and share the cost. Years ago, when it was all the rage to do this, there was people I knew at the time who were buying freezers to put in their garage so they could do exactly what Steve's talking about, buying half a beast and sharing it with their neighbour and cutting it up and putting it in the freezer. I know there's a local farmer now who will cut it up into, you know, pieces of meat that you would recognise. I need to look into that, but I don't have the room. This is my problem. I don't have the room for extra freezers and stuff. But it can be done. You can save a fortune, and you can be a bit more confident about what it is you're eating. You mean us all hungry, Budgie? I love 2 rolls with 2 fried eggs on each roll. Oh, burst the yolk first. Now you're talking, man. I tell you, what sense of humour. Well, look, folks, that's me been going for a couple of hours now. So I'm going to sign off, bring on the music and sign off. Well, as I said, that can easily be changed. That can easily be stopped, Anglo, if we had the power to do it. Change the animal right laws. Or not change it, beg your pardon, let me correct myself. What you do is you close the gap that was left there deliberately to allow for these so-called religious slaughter. You take that away, you close that loophole, and these groups will have to go somewhere else. And then what you do is you simply ban the import of it. That's all. I've got other thoughts about places like that, Toffee, KFC and company. I've got ideas for them as well. And what I would do with them is I'd get a statistician to work out a reasonable ratio of people to one of these joints. And I'm not talking about just that one. KFC, I'm talking about Burger King, McDonald's, and all the other fast food joints that we've imported from America. And then you work out a ratio of what is the healthy ratio between these fast food joints and a certain amount of people in any given area, so that you can end up with a ratio for a town, small town, a large town, small city, a large city. You will then have ratios for all of that. And then you put them up, you put the license up for auction, because there'll be a lot fewer of these places available if you did it that way. And you auction off the license for each of these joints. So you would have an income from a yearly license if they want to operate in one of these areas. And the rest of them get sent packing home. And of course, they're enforced to pay their tax bill. Otherwise, they won't get operating at all. That's how I would deal with that. You think about it. I mean, I know that unless any of these new names are older than I am, then I'm the oldest person here, right? So it gives me, well, I know Rory's, no, he's not as old as I am, but he's in the same age bracket as I am. Well, he would be able to tell you, as I can tell you, that in all the years when it was only a chippy in the town, you didn't have fat people. Now and then, occasionally, the odd one or two people who were overweight. So it's to do with the food. Simple as that. It's either a combination of overeating or the junk food that's sold in these places, filled with fats and God knows what else is in it. I would limit it all. Wouldn't ban it, of course not. But I'll have it limited to population size. And I would make them pay a license if they want to operate here. Same with that coffee joint. Along with the tax, of course. As I say, there are many different ways you can deal with these problems without resorting to any kind of violence. That would be a sort of violence against these corporations. Make them pay, restrict their ability to operate. And you can sell that on the back of health. It's for the good of the health of the people of the country. Encourage the growth of cooperatives. Yeah, I'm way behind. Way behind. Well, I thought that was the way it was, Budgie. So excuse my ignorance if it isn't that way. If it isn't that way, then yes, you're right. It has to be that way. If you don't like it, go somewhere it's allowed. It's not allowed here. Thanks for that. I didn't know that. So look, folks. God, I'm a way behind. Yeah, way behind. Jeez, oh. But I'm sorry, I don't know how I've got this behind. It's taking so long to read. Is that what it is? Probably. Anyway, folks, I'm going to bring on the outro music. It's... Oh, sorry about that. I really am. I didn't realise I was that far behind. So enjoy the rest of the week, folks, and I'll see you on Friday, God willing. Uh, we'll see what's happening on Friday. So I shall play out the music, and as I always like to say, adios, au revoir, cheerio, and goodbye for now until Friday. Take care of yourself, enjoy the music, and thank you so much, all of you, for coming. Speak to you soon. Bye just now.
Silently the snow falls, paints a winter scene, swiftly spreads the dark rim, hides a fading autumn green. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, conjure friendships dear to me. Lightly now the breeze flows, disturbing more than just the leaves. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow. Patiently the love grows, lifts the weary heart. Gently now she holds me, melts two worlds once apart. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, usher dreams of you and me. Softly then the breeze blows, disturbing more than just the trees.
All together now.
But love's much more,
So much more
than we can know.
than we can possibly know.
We are one small glow,
But a very important glow.
in the eternal flow. Melodies of long ago, songs of innocence, harmonies to soothe the soul, have some consequence. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, awakening joys of you and me. Silently the snow falls, bringing winter symphony.
All together now.
But we're much more
So much
than
more
we can
than we
know.
can possibly
We are one small globe in the eternal flow. But lies much more
So much more
than we can
than we can
know.
ever possibly.
We are one small globe in the eternal flow.
So you take care, folks, and I'll speak to you Friday, God willing. So bye for now. Speak soon.